Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was released over the weekend and I went to go see it, so let's review. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is the start of a new trilogy that takes place within the Caesar timeline. Takes place exactly 300 years after the events of those three films. Human civilization at this point is, for the most part, gone. Cities, buildings, and landscapes are all abandoned, and the apes roam the world and have advanced mentally throughout the decades. And we follow Noah, who is part of an eagle tribe, but his tribe gets captured by a group of other apes that follows Caesar, that follows another ape tribe that follows Caesar, but is kind of misguided by his teachings and his ideals. Meanwhile, Noah comes across a human who we're not sure what her intentions are, but they work together to not only get back his tribe, but uncover a secret about the humans, while also trying to stay true to Caesar and his ideals and teachings. Now, at the start of the beginning of the year, I started rewatching the entire Planet of the Apes franchise, from the original films from the late 60s, early 70s, the Tim Burton remake, and the recent Caesar trilogy, which everyone would agree is the best of this franchise. And so when we heard that a fourth film was coming in the Caesar universe, some of us were like, yay, we're getting another film within this continuity, while some were like, a fourth film after they did it so beautifully with the Caesar trilogy, how are they going to top that? And this time, this film is directed by Wes Ball, who is known for directing the Maze Runner trilogy, which I'll admit, I have only seen the first one back when it first came out, but I just didn't care to watch any of the sequels because I just didn't care for that first one to begin with. And plus, it came out at a time when the trend of making adaptations of young adult novels was starting to fizzle out. So I'm not too familiar with this director, but for what I remember from that first film, I'd say that it was decent on a filmmaking standpoint, but also concerned because I don't know if the filmmaking can match what Matt Reeves and even Rupert Wyatt brought to that trilogy. And I'm here to report that it does, but at the same time, it's still not as good as that trilogy, but there's still a lot to admire with this film and the potential that it has with its subsequent films that will follow after this film. But what I love about this film is what they do with Caesar's legacy, because you gotta think, Caesar, he was basically the first of his ape kind. He was the first to lead the apes to salvation and how the apes took over the earth. But at the same time, Caesar, he was just this figure that was trying to bring peace between apes and humans, and other apes tried their best to keep those same values. But here in this film, we can see how his legacy, ideals, and teachings can get diluted or misinterpreted throughout generations. And that can be very relatable to real life because we can see how people we see as ideal figures, maybe Christ, whoever the case may be. We can see how throughout history, we can see how their ideals, legacy, and teachings can get diluted and misinterpreted throughout history. For all we know, there's probably stuff in the Bible that the Bible may say happened, but people that were actually around during that time period say, like, no, this is how it actually happened. And that's what they do with this film, because you do have other apes that say, like, Caesar was this great figure that believed in peace between apes and humans, but then as history goes by, people misinterpret all that or try to bend it to whatever they want. And now the visual effects, I will say it is definitely on par with those first three films, especially with all the landscapes and all the worlds. We see that this is Earth set 300 years in the future. If it was taken over by apes and human civilization is just almost gone, and we just see nothing but cities, buildings, and landscapes just abandoned. It got vines and trees and whatever going around it. Like we see the ape tribe, they made a whole tribe out of, the electrical towers that have been abandoned. In fact, it's so amazing, it's still scary to even think that the Earth just been abandoned from humans from over 300 years, that buildings just get abandoned, and it's a scary thought to think about. But our main ape that we follow this time is Noah, who is part of the tribe, and he's trying his best to summon all the eagles to get on his side. And then he goes on a bit of a journey because he thinks one way about humans, but then he meets Raka, who I will get into in a little bit. But Noah has an arc from knowing one thing, and then he has his entire ideals just challenged, especially once he meets May. And he does try his best to try to spread that word onto other people. But I will say, compared to Caesar, he's just not as compelling. but I can see how he could become an important figure throughout this trilogy. You have May, played by Freya Allen, who is the main human within this film, and she seems innocent at first, but then as the movie goes on, you see like there's something different about this one, and she kind of has her own little motives, and she's definitely different from all the other humans within this timeline. Baraka is definitely the MVP of this movie. He's played by Peter Mencken. He's an orangutan just like Maurice. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this character was a descendant of Maurice, but he's like Maurice in the sense of he's likable, he's idealistic, he believed in the true ideals and teachings of Caesar, and he's trying his best to preserve the true legacy of Caesar. Proximus Midnight is played by Kevin Durand. He is basically the antagonist of this film. He is the one that captured all the ape tribes and tried to make his own little kingdom, and he's the one that took Caesar's legacy and twisted to his own will. But Kevin Durand is relishing this role. He's probably one of the best villains within this universe. He is hamming it up in all the right ways, and he even makes points where you're like, you're not wrong. This has turned out to be a good year for this actor. He was great in Abigail, and now you're seeing him here. I'm like, okay, am I starting to see a Kevin Durand renaissance? There's definitely some Easter eggs to other Planet of the Apes movies within this film right here. And I don't just mean the Caesar movies. I'm also talking about some of the older Planet of the Apes movies. Basically, it's like if one of the original Planet of the Apes films was remade today and made with modern technology, this is what it would look like. Because even though it takes place in the Caesar universe, this new world that they're building, it does kind of harkens back to the original Planet of the Apes movie. I guess the main reason I'm not too over the moon about this movie is just the fact that this is the start of a new trilogy with new characters. And you got to think, with Caesar, we met him from adolescence to his inevitable death in the third film. We had time to be with Caesar, whereas this, we're just now getting to know Noah, and we're going to need time to know this character. And plus, it is the start of a new story, so we're going to need time to just let this trilogy cook. It had to go back to square one so that it can grow beyond what it started out as. Plus, I heard recently they're trying to make 9 movies out of this continuity, which might be a little overwhelming. I think right now we should just focus on a trilogy first, and if we get more movies beyond that, then sure. But just for right now, we just need to focus on this trilogy. And especially since this is the way we started, then yeah, you may need a couple of movies, maybe more than 2 to, pick yourself up. Even though I don't think this film is as good or thought-provoking as the previous 3 films, I still think it's the start of a great trilogy, and I still think it's an enjoyable film to watch. I'm going to give Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes the thumbs up emoji. And courtesy of Letterboxd, this is how I rank this film along with the other Planet of the Apes films. Thank you so much for watching, and if you saw this film, let me know what you think in the comment section below and tell me how you would rank all the Planet of the Apes films. This is your boy Bankful B. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace. Proximus Midnight is played by Proximus Midnight is played by Kevin Durand.